Hey, what's up YouTube? What's going on? In this video I want to talk about how motions, postures, and loads can affect mechanical low back pain. And when I'm referring to mechanical low back pain, that's any type of pain that may be triggered by a certain load, a certain posture, or a certain motion. And that wouldn't include something that's more sinister, such as maybe a tumor or a cyst that may be causing low back pain. So, when we're in the gym, or if we're doing a activity such as our job that is involving sitting, bending over, twisting, or maybe it's a sport that we're involved in, we're engaging in a lot of different postures, motions, and different loads that are being placed on our body. And some of these postures, loads, and motions can either trigger back pain or they can take away back pain. And if you're not careful, you could trigger your symptoms. And with the goal of this video today, I want to give you a few different examples just to kind of open your eyes to how a load may trigger back pain, a motion may trigger back pain, or a certain posture may trigger back pain. So, to give you guys an example, let's use the deadlift. And that'll be our first example here. So, we have two kettlebells here. So I'm just going to do a standard kettlebell modified sumo deadlift. Now, for this, if we were to lift with a rounded back like this, the shear loading on our spine is going to be much greater. So the shear loading is the front to back loading. Now, if we were to hinge back, engage the lats, chin tucked, pull the hips through, the shear loading is going to be much less, and we're going to spare the spine with that posture. So, there's one influence, or one instance where a motion here, we're going through flexion, extension, could create maybe a disc injury, and we have load applied, so we have the two kettlebells, which are now adding load in terms of a compression and shear loading to the spine, and we have the posture, which we're starting in here, which we have a flexion posture. Now we're going to a neutral spine. Neutral spine, we're going to spare the spine, reduce some of that loading on the low back. So, in that case, there's an instance where poor technique, which is influenced by posture, motion, and the load, can perhaps trigger pain. So someone with more of a flexion-based issue, because we're in spinal flexion, or it could create a flexion-based issue if they don't already have any flexion-based back pain, such as, say, a posterior disc bulge / disc herniation. That is one example. Second example that I want to use is, say, someone with an SI joint related issue. Now, SI joint issues, not as common, but people may experience SI joint pain. And people that may have SI joint pain, they may see their pain triggered by more single leg stance activities, such as a Bulgarian split squat. So, using the Bulgarian split squat as an example, we're in a position here where we have an interior pelvic tilt on the right hip and a posterior pelvic tilt on the left hip. So just to show you guys the other leg, this hip now is in a posterior pelvic tilt, left hip here, anterior pelvic tilt. So what ends up happening is, because we have altered the pelvis, in that case, and if we were to say, load this exercise up, now we have two kettlebells, and we have them in a front rack position, there's now more stress on the SI joints. Now they're not in the perfectly stable position, but the SI joints, if we were to continuously perform an exercise like the Bulgarian split squat, and as we add load and we increase the frequency that we're doing this exercise, we could create some maybe instability or micro movements at the SI joints, and that could perhaps trigger pain. Now, it's not to say this exercise is bad per se. Doing this body weight, and if you have no existing SI joint issues, probably are going to be fine. But as we start increasing the load, and say if we were to do 6 to 8 reps of, say, 6 to 8 sets per week or more, and you continuously do that without a break, you could create some maybe instability of the SI joints. So, point being, that's where load is playing a role, because as that load increases, more stress on the SI. And if we already have existing SI issues, or we're just not careful with the programming in terms of the frequency and the load that we're using, and if maybe our technique is even off. So I'll give you an example. What you'll see is people may shoot into extension. That could be a trigger for maybe an extension-based issue, like a stress fracture. So there's another example where something like load in a motion, the Bulgarian split squat, performing that motion could maybe create maybe an SI joint issue down the road if you're not careful, or if you don't know what you're doing in terms of programming a workout or an exercise like this. Let's use one more example now. Say we're doing a lot of heavy squats. So we were to take the barbell and say we did a lot of heavy back squats. Now, doing this with the weight, with just the barbell, probably not really an issue. But if you're someone that's more training for powerlifting per se, and you're squatting a lot, deadlifting a lot, and you're loading the bar up with multiple 45-pound plates, and you're not taking proper rest breaks, or you're not taking a proper, or you don't have a proper deload week or month incorporated into your programming, you could perhaps create an end plate fracture or a Schmorl's mode, which is when a disc herniates upwards into the end plate. And that's more of a compression-based issue because of the repetitive loading and holding that on our spine, combined with the motion of squatting and deadlifting. If you don't give your low back a break, you don't give it enough time to rest, injury is going to happen because you just haven't gave your body enough time to adapt to that stress. You've overloaded the tissue, bang, injury occurs. So that is another instance where another back issue can develop. So those are just 3 examples that I wanted to talk about in terms of motions, loads, postures. The key thing to understand is that as the load increases, the more stress you're going to place on your body. The more motions that you're performing or repetitions of, say, an exercise, the more stress you're placing on your body. And if your posture or your technique isn't optimal, say you're starting in this posture when doing a deadlift, as opposed to this, you're already starting way behind the starting line, and you're putting yourself at a greater risk for injury because you're in a posture that is going to put more stress onto the lumbar spine, as opposed to sparing it with the neutral spine. So, with this video, all I wanted to do is explain how those 3 concepts, postures, motions, and loads, can affect back pain. The whole point of this is that if you're someone that has mechanical low back pain, if you're taught how to exercise properly, and you're educated about your low back, your injury, and how postures, motions, and loads can affect your back pain, and you follow a proper spine sparing and core endurance exercise program, you can exercise and you could perhaps be fine. But if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not educated about these things related to your back issue or back problem, you're only going to stress the tissue more, and you may only make things worse, or you may create an injury that you don't even know you're doing. And that's where, if you are uneducated about this, it does take a lot of time to kind of learn about the spine biomechanics and how that relates to triggering back pain and adaptation, exercise, and all that. But that's where the value of a qualified or good personal trainer / strength and conditioning coach can come into play that is familiar with back pain, and they can educate you about your pain triggers, how that may be effective with regards to exercise or just even your daily life or athletics, and how to perhaps spare the spine, how to work around your issues, and how to train, and how to kind of live a life symptom-free or just pain-free. Now, that's all I wanted to explain in this video, guys. But if you are uneducated, don't know about your back issues, that would be my recommendation, is to find a trainer or a strength and conditioning coach that can educate you about your back issues, help you work around anything that you may be unsure about in the gym, and also teach you about developing an exercise program or help you in terms of the frequency that you should be perhaps performing certain exercises like a split squat. Now, with that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video, guys. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them below. Until next time, all the best. Take care.